It's very nice to have a couple of weeks off from vacation and just a couple of weeks away from the parish, just to be unscheduled. I do want to make note that it was a couple of weeks, not multiple weeks like some of my associates do take, but I had the opportunity. I love going out west, so I went to Grand Tetons and Yellowstone National Parks. It's very beautiful, a lot of nice things to see, a lot of good places to be active and to do some hiking, and I like being on the bike, did a little kayaking, etc. It was good. It was just very beautiful, but it's always nice to come home. Something that I always feel is that we're blessed to live here in Central Florida. I never regret coming back to Orlando. I think that this is a place where people love to come and that they enjoy coming, so we should also enjoy living here as well. But it's nice just to have then a few days of being unscheduled. I stayed at the rectory, just kind of enjoyed things here in our own area. But one thing that I find is that it's just good to have a little bit of quiet, to be able to have a little bit of peace after a pretty busy schedule we as priests keep up, that it's nice just to have, again, that unscheduled feeling, probably not unlike Jesus would feel. I think he felt that as well. So we hear in the gospel reading today, last weekend in the gospel, we heard about the multiplication of the loaves and fishes. He spoke to thousands of people. He was probably tired. And yes, he was God, but yes, he was also human. And so he needed a little bit of time away, a little bit of rest. So he goes across the sea, and what happens? But the people find him there, and they begin questioning him. During these weeks, we have 5 weeks that we are in cycle B, that we leave St. Mark's Gospel and we concentrate, this is every 3 years, on 5 weeks of talking about the Eucharist, talking about the living bread, and we proclaim from John's Gospel. So the readings, the first reading also from Exodus and the Gospel reading, have a beautiful link to each other because they speak about the bread of life and really should be allowing ourselves to ask ourselves about our love for the Eucharist, our belief in the Eucharist, our practice of the Eucharist. What does it mean to receive the real presence? What does it mean to meet God face to face? Because our relationship with the Lord, our coming to Mass on Sunday, is not about checking a box, but it's about deepening our faith. See, in the first reading today, the Israelites are grumbling. We don't really know why they're grumbling because, they really have it pretty good. Moses is leading them. They had a rough life in Egypt. He's leading them back home. He didn't force them to go with him. He invited them, and he said, we're going back to the promised land. They went voluntarily. But typical human nature is to complain. So they start grumbling because they're hungry. But what happens? God gives them food to eat. He provides for them with the dew, which becomes that manna on the grass, and bread from the heavens, and they're all excited. Unfortunately, though many of them think it was Moses that gave the bread, it was not Moses, it was God. This is a beautiful story and a reminder for us about how God cares for us, about how God listens to our needs, how when we go to him, when we speak to him, he responds. And he may not always respond in our time, but he responds in his time. And he may not always respond in the way in which we expect, but it is the way that he desires for us. I was out at Lowe's during the week. Somebody asked me, they have a friend who is very sick and actually with stage 4 cancer, and they said, Father, why is it that we even bother praying? See, I was trying to be unscheduled, shopping in Lowe's, doing like a normal kind of thing, and I was very happy. I actually even went out to Oviedo. I said, I'm going to escape the Wakaiva bubble, and I'm going to go to the Lowe's out there. Of course, I spent 6 years there, so I ran into somebody there. And he was asking, well, why do we bother praying? If God knows that this person is going to have stage 4 cancer, then why do we bother even praying? Because we can't change God's will. And that's exactly right. No, we can't change God's will, but prayer changes not God, but changes us. And it brings us into a relationship. where we have a nice triangle between God, this person who needs our prayers, in this case with the stage 4 cancer, and ourselves. So we should never, ever give up hope about praying or say, I'm not going to bother praying because God knows what's going to happen anyway. That's what we call apathy. And that's what we call misery, because we don't have a relationship with God. No, we are called to have a relationship with God. So the Israelites grumbled. That was their way, I guess, of praying. God responded. Now we have in the gospel reading today the people who just saw this incredible miracle the week before where all of these people got fed. And now they're looking for more signs. They're not even looking for signs. They were just looking for food. They didn't really care how the food got there. They just wanted more. And they wanted Jesus to do more miraculous things because they were thinking that a relationship with Jesus is going to be always a mountaintop experience. And that a relationship with Christ is always going to be these incredible things that they had never seen before. But a relationship with God is in the everyday. It's not just in the highs and the lows. It's in everything. So Jesus scolds them and he says, you are not coming to me because you want to have faith. You're coming to me because you just want to see big, incredible things happening, like breaking news at 11. That's all they wanted to see was the high points. But a relationship with Christ is about a lot of middle points too. And it's about the sustenance that we have, and about maintaining a relationship with him on a regular basis. You see, they only wanted food for their stomachs, and they were wondering, well, Jesus, you did this. What are you going to do next? It's like a kid after Christmas, a week after Christmas, starts asking for gifts again. Well, you just got everything that you asked for. What's next? You see, our desires of the world will never, ever, ever be fulfilled. Our desires for the external, for the material, are never satisfied. When you buy one house, you're going to be thinking, well, what else do I need to do to this house to improve it? It's never done. Somebody goes into one home, they want to then buy another home. They may be in one job, they want a better job. They may have just won the lottery. Maybe you got 5 numbers, and however much you got, well, you're probably thinking, well, next time I'll get 6 numbers. There's always something more. We're never satisfied. That satisfaction comes within. Satisfaction comes inside of our hearts. I have a hanging that is over in the rectory. It was given to me when I was ordained a deacon by the sisters that used to be here, the mission helpers. And it's a beautiful picture of like the Shenandoah Mountains. And the mountains are very pretty, and it has a saying underneath. And underneath it says, you may travel the world in search of peace, but you will never realize it until you find it within. And I like to go down that road sometimes, to look at that picture and go down and to realize we can be looking for peace everywhere on the outside. But we'll never find it until it's in our hearts. So today, Jesus is inviting us to find him in our hearts. That yes, we come to him to receive the host, to receive communion, to receive the Eucharist. And maybe you think that's a chance to say, check, I got my communion this week, everything's going to be good. Well, we're not a religion of superstition, folks. We are a religion of faith. We are a religion of belief. We are a religion of relationship. A relationship with Christ is more than taking the wafer, which is now the real presence of Christ. It is something that is miraculous every time we celebrate Mass on this altar. And taking that piece of bread, that host, which is now the real presence of Christ, it is like nothing else that we are going to have in our lives. But yes, we receive that, and it doesn't change God, it changes us. But we have to be able to be open to that change and that conversion. But Jesus doesn't stop there. He doesn't come only to give us the bread of life. He comes to give us his word and the beauty of the scriptures. He comes to give us his creation so we can connect to him, so we can find him, so that we can see him, that we can know him, love him, and serve him even more. So today is a good opportunity for us to say, what are we looking for here in the Mass? What are we looking for here as we come forward, as we drive in off of Montgomery Road, walk into the church, bless ourselves, hear the Word of God, and receive communion? Sometimes people will ask me, Father, if I get to Mass late, how late can I get there and I can still receive communion? I think, what have we done here? Like something's wrong. It's not about getting communion. It is about having relationship with the Lord. And no, I'm not going to answer that question because everyone will show up later than next week. That's not the point. If we receive communion but miss everything else, guess what? You've just missed a whole other opportunity of what God is looking to give to you. What are you looking for? And remember, you may travel the world in search of peace, but you'll never realize it till you find it within. By placing Jesus within, then and only then can we find the gift of his peace.